Hi, in this video we're going to be looking at how to set up a campaign in your Smart CRM, specifically looking at how to configure audience entry and exit rules, how to set a language, and how to schedule a campaign. In part 2, we'll be looking at the settings tied to the message itself, such as triggers, and configuring when emails should be sent. So in my community, I'm on my Campaigns tab, and I want to create a new campaign. If you have existing campaigns, they'll be listed here, as well as some high-level metrics on how that campaign is doing. To create a campaign, click the Create Campaign button on the right-hand side. And here you'll be able to add a name to your campaign, set any audience entry rules or exit rules, choose the time frame for your campaign to run, its language, and then you can add your message content. So first I'm going to name my campaign. And below the name field, I'm going to see my audience entry rules and exit rules. You'll also notice that when you create a new campaign, the consent status is defaulted to acquired. You can change this in your audience entry rules if needed. Your audience entry rules determine who from the community will be added to the campaign audience once the campaign is launched. If you don't select any entry rules, everyone from your community will be added to this campaign. In this instance, I'm going to add a few rules, so I'm going to click the Add Rules button. And here you'll see some of the filters I can use for my audience entry rules. I have the option to filter by segment, location, proximity to a location, the prospect status, the prospect source, any tags that might be on the prospect, screening questions, a date range of when they were added to the community, consent status, or a pending consent request. When adding filters, there's a few options that you have. One is to create rules with a single filter. For example, if I wanted to have my filter only be on the prospect status, I can select multiple statuses of prospects I want added to this audience. So for example, I want anybody in the added status, the contacted status, the responded status, and the interested status. I do not want any prospects added to this audience who are in the not interested, transferred, or not selected status. So if a prospect in my community matches any of those statuses within that filter, they'll be added to my audience. If you want to use multiple filters, so for example, if you wanted to add prospects that had a certain status and were in a certain location, note that when using multiple filters, the prospect has to match both those filters, not either of those filters. You can create rule filter combinations. So for example, if I wanted prospects in the added and responded statuses, but also from the locations of London and Berlin to be in my audience, I would have to create 4 different rule combinations. So I would create a rule that the location is Berlin and the status is added, then a second rule of the location is Berlin and the status is responded, a third rule of the location is London and the status is added, and the fourth rule that the location is London and the status is responded. The only filter combination that does not follow this rule is when you use a location and proximity filter combination. When adding a location and proximity filter, a prospect does not have to match both filters and can either be added from the location or if they match the proximity. So like I mentioned, for this particular campaign, I'm only going to use the prospect status filters. In the top right, I'm going to click Save. And then just like how we added entry rules, we can also add exit rules. Exit rules determine which prospects should exit the audience that are already in the current audience. When a prospect is removed from the audience, they will stop receiving messages from the campaign immediately. This is also true for when a message was scheduled to be sent before the prospect was removed from the audience. Just like entry rules, if we don't have any exit rules, nobody will be removed from the campaign. But for this example, I'm going to add a couple exit rules. When I click Add Rules next to Audience Exit Rules, I'll be brought to a very similar page as I was for the entry rules, with all the same filters, and the same filter combination rules apply. For this example, I want any prospect whose status changes to not interested, transferred, or not selected to be taken out of my campaign. So I'm going to select those 3 statuses under the prospect status filter. Once I select my filters for my exit rules, I'll click Save in the top right corner. And now back on the campaign page, I have my entry rules and exit rules set. Next, you'll want to decide what the time frame is for how long you want this campaign to be running. So the start date will be the day that you're creating this campaign, and then you can choose your end date. And when I choose end date, a calendar will pop up, and I can choose my date. So I will have this campaign run till the end of July. So now if any prospect comes into my community, meets the entry rules within this date frame, they will be sent this campaign. Next, I'm going to choose the language for my campaign, and the language set here will localize the message footer and unsubscribe pages for the campaign, but it will not localize the content you create within the campaign. Thank you for watching part 1 of creating a campaign in Smart CRM. To learn more about the additional settings on the message itself, please view our part 2 video in the university.